Welcome back. President Biden gets back from New York tonight after a night of fundraising and 2 days at the United Nations. The president met with world leaders and spoke on issues like Ukraine, climate change, and supporting developing nations. However, while in New York City, he did not meet with local leaders on the migrant crisis there. As you might know, New York's mayor, Democrat Eric Adams, pleaded for help earlier this month.
Let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City.
I mean, Julia, there you have a Democrat saying, we've got big problems here. The president of the United States is there and doesn't talk about it. Is it a missed opportunity for him, and why is he not talking about it?
I think so. And Eric Adams said yesterday, said, hey, I'm available. I'm a public person. He knows where I am. He's in this city. There was definitely this implication of he would have been willing to meet up. But instead, and we were talking about this earlier, Governor Kathy Hochul, the governor of the state, puts on Twitter that she had a productive phone call with him. So I think it's a missed opportunity because this is such a weak spot.
So she put out the tweet. We only knew about this because the governor put out the tweet and said it was a phone call. Is this a missed opportunity? Like, the president needs to deal with this, I would think, at some point in time, and he was there.
Oh, 100%. I think you saw a White House communications operation that wanted to keep the focus on the UN General Assembly in the president's speech, which was well received, talking about Ukraine and pushing back against Chinese competition and things like that. So I think the focus was there. But certainly this is going to be a huge election issue for this administration. Speaking as a Democrat, when you have 100,000 migrants on the streets of New York, that's crowding out all the social services there, and we need to do something about that, certainly.
But I hear your point, and from a comms perspective, keep it focused. We're there for the UN and Ukraine and this and that. But when the rest of the public hears about what's going on, are they talking about the president's speech at the UN General Assembly on Ukraine? Or are they seeing wall-to-wall what's going on in New York, along the southern border, and parts in between?
Well, certainly, I mean, those appeal to us on an emotional level, on a humanity level. So those kind of issues always resonate more. I think this administration needs to do a better job about talking about the need for Congress to really step in. I mean, we're in a situation where the law needs to be changed in terms of how we process these folks. We need to hire more immigration judges so we can process these folks more quickly. We need to get them, worker ability, right, when they're in here in terms of a migrant status. So there are things that Congress certainly needs to do.
Congress has a job to do. We have to have comprehensive immigration reform, which we haven't done for decades. However, the president is still in charge of enforcing our nation's laws, and there's no way to deflect attention away from that reality. This is not the first time the Biden-Harris administration has avoided being seen at the border, being seen in the midst of this humanitarian crisis, and it's fascinating to me that they're not willing to address it now when their own Democratic supporters are actually coming against them.
Here are some of the numbers. Southwest border migrant crossing attempts. In the last 24 hours, north of 9,000, 233,000 encounters in August. You mentioned Congress. The House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, was asked about Ukraine a lot today. And at one point, after being asked about Ukraine, he said this.
Did you watch what happened in America yesterday? 9,300 people came across the border. Those are the only ones we interacted with. In the last 5 days, there was 45,000 people that came across the border illegally. Not from one other country, from 160 different other countries.
Yeah.
And if this happens, Philip, this is what we're going to see from Republicans. Issue XYZ, but southern border and New York.
And I think that this is more of an apples-to-apples comparison, at least in the minds of Republicans, because they can say, we're spending all of these billions of dollars to preserve Ukrainian borders. What about ours? That is something that is welcome in the conservative base right now, and it's the type of rhetoric that's going to get McCarthy out of a jam when his right flank is gunning for him.
We just heard that from Nancy Mace in our interview, basically saying she wants to see what happens in Ukraine, and to your point, it's sort of the way to link the two together.
And McCarthy has argued from the beginning that there's not going to be a blank check. When the rest of Washington treats this guy like a Churchillian figure, McCarthy's been saying, look, we need an audit. We need to know where all this money is going. And I think that, we'll see perhaps the White House acquiesce to some of those demands for accountability.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.